Okay. So I want to welcome everyone back to this week's edition of the Northern Nerdcast, where we showcase the geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events that happen in and around the Edmonton area. The Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network. Powered by ATV. Please feel free to head on over to albertapodcastnetwork.com for a list of amazing Alberta-made podcasts. We would also like to encourage everyone out there that if you enjoy this episode, to share it with all your friends on social media. This way, we are able to help grow the community here in Edmonton and keep everyone up to date on the latest news and information regarding the geeky and nerdy people, groups, and events. Also, if you or someone you know would like to be featured on our show, please feel free to contact us over at northernnerdnetwork.com. Now, let's get on with the show. All right. So I want to welcome everyone back, of course, to another edition of the Nerdcast. Today on the Nerdcast, we have none other than filling in for Chelsea Thompson. We have the great Sam Mantha Woods. That's right.
Oh, I thought you were going to just do the abbreviated. You were so close.
I can't do it, Samantha.
I was like, it's always Samantha. And I'm like, call him Dan. And then he's like, Samantha. And I'm like, Daniel. And he's like, yeah, that's my name. It's like, fine. Whatever. Let's hear.
I figured I'd hold that for a moment for you, just for you.
I was like, oh, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. Nope. Yep. I'm coming to you live from rural Saskatchewan.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have electricity.
I know, right?
That's amazing. Wow.
I actually got woken up this morning by the town. So we live right across from
the town crier.
Not the town crier. Good morning, ringing the bell. Hear ye. No, the town was moving a giant, yellow had tracks. It's got a backhoe. Is that what they are? I don't know. They were loading it onto a trailer because we're right across from the town yard where they store all of these things. And I was like, what is this? What's happening? Why is this happening now? It's like,
why is it so early in the morning?
It's so early. So, yeah.
Yeah. Also on today's edition of the Nerdcast, we have Andrew Scott joining us on the Nerdcast.
Hey.
He's from It's a Conspiracy. Say hello.
It's a Conspiracy. Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks for having me. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you actually on the show.
Right on.
We did the Centurion.
Yes, we did.
What, 2 months ago? A month ago?
It was in man, I don't know when it was.
It was in January.
It was in early January. It was after New Year's. It was right after New Year's. Like
it was right after
the 4th or 5th, and it was great, man. I was kind of feeling a little ill for about 2 weeks after that, but that
one hit me really hard. I have to admit that one.
It was good to listen to though, man. It's like your journey from the beginning to the end of that was hilarious. Like I think
it took a sharp turn.
Yeah.
At one point.
Oh, dude, so good. Yeah, it was good. It was like you were coasting along, and then the drunkenness just kind of all slammed in all at once. And,
bam! Just like I hit the wall at one point. I know I could. There was one point where it's just like, I totally lose all sense of control, and it was definitely something else. I know the audio is out there for people to listen to.
Somewhere on the internet, the dark places.
It's on a few places.
Yeah, it's up in a couple places. Sam, if you like, I can send you some later on. Some of Dan's greatest hits.
That would be awesome. Play it later. That'd be good.
Actually, maybe I'll edit something like that together. Put together because dude, you've got some great lines in there. Like it'd be so funny to have it might not make sense all out of order, but it didn't make sense in context either. So
that's the point, right? Like I don't think it made sense when I actually said them either. So
no. Yeah, that was great, man.
Fun times. So you run a conspiracy podcast. Tell us about
I do.
that.
Yeah, I run It's a Conspiracy, and we talk about conspiracy theories, alternative accounts, legends, myths, and more. And the thing that I've been trying to do was take a theory, like the flat earth theory, something like that, and explain what it is, the people that believe this, like what their thoughts on it are. And then at the end of it, like I try to present it without opinions of my own. And then at the end, we have like a little thing we call opinion time, and we explain, myself and my co-host, we explain what we think on it. And basically, like the idea is initially we present the theory without saying like, oh, check this out, this crazy whatever garbage, whatever. And then at the end we'll kind of tear into it a little bit, or we'll put our support behind it. But some people have been like, oh dude, are you one of these like weird conspiracy guys? And I'm not. I'm actually, we've presented about 25 theories, and there's really only one that I'm like, yeah, that's a legit thing. And the rest I'm like, yeah, this is all pretty far-fetched.
The moon landing. So,
we have another, the moon landing will be the that'll be the last episode of the season. And yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's hard to it's hard to take that seriously, But anyways, I don't mean to give my opinion on that.
We're gonna get back to that right after our break here. But first off, I want to catch up a little bit. Samantha, how have you been? It's been a while since I've seen you last.
A while. It's been a
couple weeks.
Got my job going. Now I'm officially employed by the Canadian military something stuff. As a civilian something. Yeah. Like it's really weird. It was a really fluke thing. So Christmas Eve I was sitting talking with my cousin after completing my yoga teacher training and was like, I don't know, moving out here. I don't know. And then he's like, oh, there's a base out there. You should see if you can teach yoga at the gym. They have a gym. Here's the contact. And I was like, okay. So I emailed my boss, who wasn't my boss then, but I emailed this lady and I was like, hey, I just got certified in this. Are you having any openings? And her response is like, great. Can you teach a class on the 7th? I was like, yes. Yes, I can. So then I got hired out at the base, but as I'm a like civilian, I still have to do a lot of the military hoops and stuff like that. So I'm this weird mix of like military somewhat, but civilian stuff. So it's like I have clearance and things like that. But yeah, and then I applied
clear.
Yeah, but clearance.
I don't have clearance of anything.
Which means I can use the internet at work. Ish, once my background check officially comes through. It's just like the weirdest thing. But yeah, so it's like, so I go on base and I use their gym facilities for like super cheap, and that's really what it is. And I twist military guys into pretzels for fun. And I'm like, let's touch our toes. And then everybody grumbles, and I'm like, it's okay. Let's touch our toes some more. But yeah, so I make them work, and it's good. But yeah, then they were also like, oh, we're looking for an administrative assistant for our mess. So like the bar cafeteria thing that they have on base. And I'm like, I can do that. I've been trained in hospitality management, and I've had 10 years of bank experience, and they were like, oh, so I just got that job too. So I'm wearing a few hats. But yeah, so that's what Sam's been doing. Yeah. Actually, we're getting the pool up and running there, which is really exciting because I didn't know they had a pool. Like, it's like this. I like
really.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about what this was at all. So yeah, they have a pool. They have a full fitness facility, like full weight room. Everything's like brand new equipment, really good condition, all this stuff, right? And it's just like, yeah, and like the gym membership or something like that for the year for me is like $150.
Holy man!
I know. I was like, what? That's it?
Yeah.
I was paying $500 in the city, and that was super discounted.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be using that. But I also still find it a little interesting where some people are like, they're like, oh, we have to pay $70 a year, and then they want us to pay fees on top of that. And I was like, yes, they do. Like, this is dirt cheap. I will throw that money at them for all of the things we're getting. But yeah, so they're going to talking about doing aqua size, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be there. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to the last couple of weeks, and unpacking.
That's awesome. Yeah,
that sounds super exciting for like small town, rural Saskatchewan for sure.
Yeah, Yeah, it's sometimes like for where we're situated, there's a bar kitty corner to us, and I'll watch people like take their snowmobiles to the bar. It's been fun. Be like, oh, or they'll take their kids to school on the snowmobile with a toboggan behind it. You're just like, okay, that's
a thing.
That's a thing. Yeah.
That's a thing. Cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it's amazing.
What's that? Sorry.
Your turn.
I have been working. I've been working like crazy, and I got 2 kids, and I've been just going nuts. I'm getting ready for. I've got a little. I work as a musician, so I've got a little recording coming out, and I'm trying to get everything ready for that. That'll be out like March 17th, as like a little Irish thing for St. Patrick's Day, and trying to balance that with 2 kids and moving into a new house and everything like that. It's been cool, and it's been cold here, man, like crazy cold. So
yeah,
like everybody's like going just
nobody's outside. Everybody's like
nobody's outside. Yeah,
they're like, no, we're staying.
Nobody's vehicle works. Yeah, and it's just been if you've been up in camp, I would imagine it's been even worse. Like
it's been awful up here. It's just it's awful everywhere though. Like I mean, I don't think anyone around anywhere has been saying, "Oh yeah, this is great weather."
Well, yeah. And so the thing that I found funny today was like it was minus 30 today, but the sun was shining, and I went outside and was like, "Oh, it's actually pretty warm." Blah blah blah. Sun tricks you. It totally tricks you.
Yes.
And I get in the car and it's like minus 30. I was like, "Oh, never mind." Are you gonna start? Yes, you did. Fabulous. But
yeah, no, it was like minus 8 today, and I was like, "Oh, hey, it's like a nice spring day. Let's get outside. We don't have to wear our like full gear. Like we can go outside with just toques and mitts and stuff like that, make a snowman." But felt like a hot summer day after this polar vortex stuff. But yeah.
I'm looking forward to that ending. We should probably be getting, if you guys have got the worms, probably in like 2 to 3 weeks it'll be here.
Yeah.
That's how weather works.
Yeah.
Just need to hunker in. That's all. Just don't go outside.
Well, do you work inside or outside, Dan?
No, I work outside.
Oh.
Everything I do is outside.
Well, he's got a little snowsuit thing, don't you? Like that
snowsuit thing?
Yeah, don't you have that like one piece?
No, I got like long underwear that I wear all the time.
Oh, you should get that snowsuit thing. I'll find it. I'll send you a link later.
Sure.
Are you wearing long underwear right now?
I am.
You are?
Yeah. Just because I haven't had time to get out of this while I was trying to scramble for work here.
Does it have like the flap in the back so you can go to the bathroom?
Oh no. It's a 2-piece. Like I got a zipper in the front.
Oh.
Yeah,
I know. It's like
it's fancy. It's
wow.
It's Helly Hansen. This is really fancy. Like
really fancy.
Yeah, it's very very nice. This is really warm.
That's good tech stuff.
It's pretty good. For myself, anyways, I have been kind of hunkering as much as I can. I'll stay inside. That's pretty much where I'm going to live. I did get a new board game in. Finally. I've been waiting. I had kickstarted a board game. Oh, it was over a year ago. Nemesis, which is basically, the movie Aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is basically Aliens, the board game, and I finally got it. I took it up to camp, I think last week here, because I wanted to paint all the little miniatures in it, and so I painted all the characters. I got them all kind of done and pretty. They look pretty good, I think. Did all that, and then we finally got a chance to play it last weekend, and what a fun game.
Right on, man.
It really tells a story, like when you're playing the game, because you're trying to do your own objective. Like everyone has got their own kind of thing going on during the game. It's not really cooperative, but it's semi-cooperative, right? So you're kind of working together. You have to you can't rely on yourself to get everything done because you just don't have enough time. So you have to kind of rely on people, but other people can really mess you over
Oh.
in your game. But as you're kind of exploring the ship, and you kind of, the whole premise is that you're in like a hypersleep, right? And you're woken up, and one of your crew members is dead. And when you come out of hypersleep, you kind of have amnesia. You know that the front of the ship is where the cockpit is, and the back of the ship is where the engines are. But all the different rooms are kind of a mystery to you. And so you got to go around the ship and explore the ship and find out where all these different locations on the map are. And each room does a different thing, like the armory, or you can go to the surgery, and if you get infected by aliens, you can get the alien baby ripped out of you.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I mean this game is quite intense. Like there's a huge like alien queen that can come out and just like wreck you. Oh, it's just it's a lot of fun though.
This is all a tabletop game you're playing here.
This is all just a tabletop, like actual board game. And we played with 4 players and just had an absolute blast. Just so much fun. And so I'm not sure when the actual retail is released for this, but I love this game so much, and I cannot wait to try it again. Cool. So that was my weekend. That was
new board game. Yeah.
New board game. Getting that finally out on the table, which was a pretty good thing.
We got a lot of new stuff. New board game, new album, new job. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is super cool. Yeah. I haven't, man. I kind of admire the fact that you've set aside time, because obviously it takes a lot of time to like not just play the game. Like that's one thing, but like set aside time to paint the characters and do all this stuff.
Well, I'm in camp right now, right? I have pretty much nothing to do.
Well, yeah, when you got your game, right?
All I do is sit here after work. I have my shower, I eat, I come back to my room, and I just watch a bunch of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and paint figures. That's all I do all night.
It's pretty fun that way.
It is. It kills the time for sure. And I kind of actually enjoy the painting. I mean, it's some of it's really tiny, and so it was pretty good to just kind of sit there and paint those little guys, and that was a lot of fun. I still have to get all the aliens done though.
I was just gonna ask if we could see the queen, because I was imagining like I saw some of the lead figurines on Facebook, and is the queen like a big puppet that comes out through the bottom of the table or something?
Oh, she's huge. Like she's like, I don't know, like this big. Like
that's huge.
It's crazy how big she is. I might have a picture on Facebook. I'm not sure if there is one on there. I know I had one of the board with all the characters on it somewhere. And yeah, there's a lot of like cool looking aliens that are in there. And so yeah, I gotta get all that done. Eventually I'll get there.
Cool.
I have time. Anyways, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to talk about one of our sponsors real quick, and we will come right back and talk to Andrew here about It's a Conspiracy.
Sure.
All right. So this week's edition of the Northern Nerdcast is brought to you by the Edmonton Community Foundation. And if you guys go on to ecfoundation.org, you guys will find just a great way. So what it is it connects you to the resources you need and helps with donors that are able to make the best decisions for your funds. And students can find grants that help them succeed. Charities are able to fund their latest projects, and they help build relationships that strengthen the Edmonton community. Because connecting people is what they do best. So go on over to ecfoundation.org and become a donor. And essentially what the Edmonton Community Foundation does is it takes, I can't remember what endowment funds, and uses that to help charities in the Edmonton area grow and prosper. And so if you really want a good way to help the Edmonton community, this is one way that will continually help the Edmonton area, because your endowment fund is one that they just take the interest from your endowment fund and then they give that money to the charities. One other thing about that is that they have a podcast, the Well Endowed Podcast. So if you go to the Well Endowed Podcast, there you'll find the podcast that they have, the Well Endowed Podcast. And, you know, it really showcases a lot of what the Edmonton Community Foundation does. And it's a great podcast. I love it. I've listened to the podcast quite a few times, and it's absolutely fantastic. So go and check that out. So go check out ecfoundation.org for the Edmonton Community Foundation and the wellendowedpodcast.com for the Well Endowed Podcast. All right. Now we are back here with Andrew Scott. And Andrew, we're going to talk, a little bit about It's a Conspiracy.
Sure.
We'll kind of get you started on that kind of whole stuff. So let's just start off with that. Like, what started you on the path of, It's a Conspiracy?
I mean,
why did you start
of self-righteousness? Yeah. The thing that got me was the whole format was based around, like, I love podcasts and I wanted to get into one for a little while, and I really like conspiracy stuff, but I'm super skeptical.
Like, you really gotta emphasize that part, right? Like,
I really do.
Not a conspiracy theorist.
It's one of those things where it's not hard to find a conspiracy podcast where it's someone's opinion just being shoved down your throat for like 2 hours. Like, that's kind of, I don't want to give examples, but like if you listen to a lot of conspiracy podcasts, that's kind of the thing. It's like someone explaining to you what's happening and blah blah blah. And I was sitting talking with my buddy Greg, and he was like, what is it that like the reptile theory is all about? We were like looking up like the Wikipedia page, and we just sort of started talking about it. And while we were talking about it, we were at this bar, and a couple of people were like chiming in with jokes on the side, and we were having a couple beers, and I was like, this format right here, right now, like, it just hit me. I was like, this is exactly what I would want my podcast to be. So our format is like, we explain what it is people believe. We have a couple drinks, we talk, and I've one of my objectives really is this is why the Centurion fits so well into it, was that it's like comedy has to be a part of it. Like, I really like comedy. I like people just being, everyone's welcome. You don't have to necessarily even be interested in the conspiracy that we're talking about. Like, you could just join in because someone's like, oh, these guys are funny, and when they talk about stuff, who knows where it's going to go. Mm-hmm. Like, half the time we end up talking about Star Trek or like Highlander or whatever. And it's all just, yeah.
There can only be one.
Because I mean, even your Valentine's Day podcast there that you had even had a Star Trek Valentine Roses Are Red kind of poem there. That was pretty good. I really enjoyed that one.
Oh, I'm glad we had there was a conspiracy theory about, are you a Star Trek guy?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. So do you remember when Kalis came back in The Next Generation?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So one of the theories that I put forward was that, and this was kind of my own theory, and there's a few people that have written about it, but I kind of gathered my own stuff, was that Worf was actually Kalis returned, and it wasn't the actual clone that showed up that was Kalis, but like Worf actually.
It was actually Worf.
It was actually Worf, yeah. and really, it was just, I don't believe that, but it was a funny excuse to talk about Worf for like what ended up being like almost 2 hours. And so my buddy Charlie's like, dude, we have to edit this down. And after that episode, he's like, you guys get talking about Star Trek and that's it. So we had a moratorium on Star Trek that was lifted during the Centurion. So I was allowed to indulge just a little bit during the Valentine's Day. And I actually wanted to come up with a segment on the relationship between Data and Yar, because someone heard that and they thought I was joking. Like they were like, "Oh, that's funny,"
no.
and I'm like,
No,
"No, that's a
totally
thing."
that was the
thing.
thing. That was totally a thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't that when they got infected with?
They were all drunk.
Yeah, they got infected with that thing or whatever that just basically made them want to like mate, and then she asked him if he was all anatomically correct or something, and like pulled him aside. And then when they bring it up again when he's on trial for being human, because he has a hologram of her or whatever. Right?
And how sweet was that, right?
I was like, oh, heart. So
yeah. And after that, he started adopting pets too. Speaking of pets, do I hear?
Yes, this is Harley.
Oh, I thought that was like a chair squeaking.
No, she is like a gazillion years old.
That sounds like
yeah.
Oh, look.
She's
playing it up to the mic.
And she has discovered that I will cuddle her when I'm on the computer. So she'll come and visit. Now
that's so funny.
She's like old though, like old.
she's old. Oh.
Like, when she accidentally poops on the floor, we don't even get mad old. Like,
yeah, okay.
So it's like,
at least you're still pooping.
Yeah, that's really what it is at this point. Yeah. We actually have a theory or whatever that she's a lich. She's died long ago and she's just a husk walking around.
Oh my god! Just the wind picks her up once in a while. No.
Well, she's so she's all hair. Like you can just feel her bones, and like she has unlimited access to food and everything. And it's just like she's just gonna do what she does at this point.
Maybe there's like a family of tapeworms living in her body.
Maybe. She didn't like that.
Yeah.
She's cut now. She's cut now. There she is.
So why did you pick conspiracies? Like, what was the purpose of that?
Well, the funny thing about conspiracies is that I think we're living in a time when conspiracies are just everywhere. The internet is just the internet is full of a few things. I'm sure we could think of a couple of the most popular, sort of contents, but conspiracy theories are just so abundant and they're about everything. And it's fun. I mean, everybody, even the most intelligent people who have like totally rational, logical minds, everyone has some theory that they believe in, even just a little bit. And it's like, it's fun to find that out and talk about it. And it's a great conversation starter. Like, and you'll never run out of it. It's in the same sense as being in a podcast about like things that people are being nerdy about. Like you're never going to run out of stuff that people are being nerdy about.
That's right.
Like, and it's just part of our condition. Like it's just part of our collective psyche that we're a little distrustful and we really like getting enthusiastic about things. I don't know who was that on your podcast once, or maybe it was before the podcast started, where I think it was you that said being nerdy really is just being really like unabashedly enthusiastic about something.
Yeah.
Maybe something I would say.
Sounds like something you would say.
Yeah.
There's some people like they just had at the mall, they had autograph signing for the Edmonton Oilers at the mall.
Oh yeah.
And it was like at 2:00 or 1:00 in the afternoon or something crazy like that. People were there all night at the mall. And it's like waiting in line. What?
It's just like Comic-Con.
It is exactly like Comic-Con.
And it's just like anything else. Like they're waiting for the next game release, right? Like it's so funny that it is that kind of a culture has so transcended everything that we do now, right?
That's exactly. Yeah.
So I got a question. Do you find that a lot of like the big conspiracy, like Bigfoot, UFOs, Loch Ness, that because of now with the use of technology, there's not as much conspiracies around those? Like those used to be like the big ones, and now they've kind of gone the wayside because everybody has their phone on them.
Or are they more convoluted?
Yeah.
They're a little more convoluted. They're a little more there's a little more like kind of sub theories in all of them. But this is one of those things where no matter how much evidence is thrown at something now, people just can conveniently be like there's this really interesting theory, for example, called the phantom time hypothesis. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this or not.
No.
It's basically the theory that Charlemagne didn't exist, and it's actually it's not 2019, it's like 1720. And the only proof for that is that there was a King Otto or someone like that was like, or Emperor Otto was like, oh, I want to ring in my reign in the year 1000 as opposed to like the year 692 or something like that. I'm not exactly sure the details. Oh. And you have people that will adamantly defend that theory, and you can show them like carbon dating stuff or the tree ring data or solar calendars. You can show them all that stuff, and they'll be like, yeah, okay, that's what science says, but my heart tells me like this. And you're like, well, what are you gonna? How can you argue with that when your heart tells you, right? You know,
like,
yeah.
So.
Well, I hope your heart doesn't tell you when you have heart disease, and science tells you before that gets bad.
But, yeah, exactly. And who are you going to trust when you have heart disease? You know, like, and that's so. In a sense, when I hear questions like that, I'm like, yeah, people are really they're still hitching their beliefs on like a certain wagon, and no matter what the actual data says, they're like, no, I just really like being a fan of this. And sometimes it's the ultimate I don't mean to pick on people, but the people that pick on, or the people that believe in the flat Earth, they're basically rejecting science as a whole. Like they're saying, no, nothing science says is true, and they're like the atheist version of science. Like I just don't believe in science. Like gravity is not a thing. And you're like, oh, okay. So
even their whole map of like how the sun rotates in a figure 8 doesn't make any sense.
None whatsoever. None at all. You know, and that's just it. And the sun is this tiny little ball in the sky. Like it's not the sun. It's this little. It's like the size.
It's like a flashlight
stick or something.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what? No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't they have a tweet or whatever that was like, the Flat Earth Society has members all around the world or something like that came out a while ago. And then it got deleted after somebody figured it out. And it was like
all around the world.
Oh yeah, cool.
Totally.
Oh, well. It's always interesting. They talk.
Oh well, they talked about how it was the same thing. There was other planets that were like clearly spheres, and they're like, those are the other planets. That's not us. Because they would talk about like, you know, when that conference was going on, that members all around the globe was going on, they talked about how Neptune is a planet and it's a sphere, but Earth is an exception to that. And it's like, oh, okay, that's good, you know. Yeah,
sure.
We're special somehow.
Yeah, we're special.
We're
just flat magic. Yeah.
Are special because we're one of the only planets that we know of that have life at that point, but we're only special as far as we know knowledge, I guess, of things.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, it could be that idea of feeling special is like I don't normally give my opinion on these things so much, but a lot of conspiracy theorists, I think, are in fact wanting a reason to be special. They're like, I just reject it and I want to be known as that crazy guy, you know. So it's kind of all about feeling special in a way, which I guess you just want to decide what it is you feel special about. You know.
Yeah, no matter what kind of evidence is kind of out there saying that no, this is completely inaccurate.
It's impossible. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, it's fun to, I guess, have a belief in something. If we're gonna go with that.
Well,
it is. Yeah.
I find that we as a society have a hard time wanting to believe in things anymore, and so we're just so sporadic in what we do choose to believe in now.
Yeah, and it really it's almost like a lack of proof can be the ultimate proof to someone, and without even getting into like spiritual or religious issues, it's just like something as simple as like, you know, like the Earth being flat. Like, how can you?
we're so picking on them tonight.
Yeah, I know. It's just that's one of the ones that immediately sticks out. You know.
Yeah. It's just like, it's so outlandish. It's so hard to take serious when people talk about the Earth being flat.
It really is, yeah. You know,
I'm
but
sorry.
I mean,
I'm sorry if I'm, totally
if you're alienating your audience.
alienating my audience here.
It's just,
It is what it
maybe
is.
maybe they're just stories that people like to have, right?
Well, there's actually, Dan, there's one that I was gonna mention to you, man. Is that there's that theory from the '80s that Dungeons and Dragons was like leading people to like satanic sacrifices on the street
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yes. So I grew up in a Christian home, and we were never even allowed to even speak the word Dungeon and Dragon in our house. It was evil.
And
it was
now
satanic.
You play it.
Now I do.
The devil has cometh.
But it was one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, these kids are like casting spells on each other, and it's like they're using spell books, and it's all crazy and demonic, and oh yeah, it was.
We use it to teach the
crazy.
kids math.
Yeah.
It's a sneaky way of teaching kids how to.
And then add this modifier and add that. So what do you
have?
Yeah. So your 21 hit, right? Like, it's funny.
It is.
And
funny.
Storytelling. And
so what is your favorite conspiracy that you've covered so far?
Oh, hands down. There's one called the Black Knight satellite. Have you guys ever heard of this before?
No.
Okay, so this one is really cool because it's really grounded. There is a thing. Okay, I'll just explain the theory. In the atmosphere right now, and I can send you guys a picture to like include in the episode description or whatever. There's this huge, big, weird-looking like asteroid kind of thing orbiting the Earth. And it's got a really cool design. It kind of looks like a race car, but it like if you tilted it so like the headlights were on the ground and like the exhaust pipe was pointing up. It looks like this. It's flying around. And people are like, this thing is up there. What is it doing? And at the same time, NASA has like reportedly they've taken pictures of it and they're like, oh, that's like a frozen parachute from like an umbrella, or like a piece of the space station broke off. And then
space junk.
Yeah, space junk. But it was discovered before the first satellite was ever shot into orbit. So they have pictures of it from before there was ever anything man-made in the sky. And at the same time, there's 2 or 3 theories that happen to get kind of linked with this one. And there's one that anytime you broadcast something over radio of any kind, there's, for some bizarre reason, an echo that will come back to you. So if I, even using my cell phone, it goes out, it hits whoever I'm trying to get it to, and then it will just carry on and go out into space. At some point, that will echo and come back to Earth. Nobody knows why. And this is one of those things that goes all the way back to Tesla. Like he'd reported on it. And I don't remember what the word is for it, but some kind of space echo. And so a lot of people are like, well, that's this thing out there. It's like it's keeping track of all the radio messages, and it sends them back to us because it's like the 2001 Space Odyssey, where there's this thing that was put there by like an ancient species that were like, we'll put this here, and then when they figure out how to broadcast, they'll hear the echo and they'll realize that someone intelligent was here before them or whatever. So it's some kind of marker of intelligence. I don't know exactly.
That's kind of a neat theory.
It's a neat theory, yeah, for sure. And then the name of this thing is called the Black Knight satellite, which is not only really fun to say, but it just reminds me of...
it just sounds really cool.
It sounds super cool. And there's the Black Knight from the Holy Grail.
Monty Python.
And, Monty Python.
Scratch.
And yeah, so I'm already like, oh, I love it so much. And my son's name is Monty, so I'm like, oh, it's great. It just reminds me of everything that I hold dear. And it's just a cool theory, and it's one of those ones where like there is something weird floating around in the atmosphere, and the weirdest things get associated with it. That really, it's completely it's like they could be correlated. But clearly it's not like causing anything. But it's an interesting theory. And it's fun to think about. And it's just, it's cool.
That's really cool. It's always what is it? Magic is just science we don't understand.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
And this, I love the thought of like an ancient, extinct, intelligent species from billions of years ago,
way before us.
Yeah, and they left us this thing, and then in a couple, like in 1,000 years, we make some weird discovery, and this thing just cracks open, and there's like a time capsule inside of it, and it's like, yeah, we're the guys that like used to be here. You know, that'd be just, it'd be amazing.
We dropped you off here.
Yeah, they could have, man.
Well, I heard that theory about like if Mars was heated up 10 degrees, it would have the same habitat as Earth. So like one of the conspiracy theories I heard was that we used to live on Mars. We messed up the planet. We sent people to Earth in a space pod, which was the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs.
Oh, okay.
And that's how human life began. Yeah, right. And I was like, you know, that's some good thinking. Just okay, cool.
Because we screw up one thing, we have to screw another thing up at the same time.
And destroy the dinosaurs.
And destroy the dinosaurs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a very human thing to do. Not just escape, but
to annihilate a species while we come in.
We're gonna hunt these to extinction, you know, just whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, that explains like the caveman drawings with the dinosaurs, and I'm like, no, that's Hollywood, but okay, sure.
Yeah.
It's not.
Wow, that's good. I like that one. It's
good. There's some good ones out there, and I like the ones that are almost plausible, right? Where you're like, oh yeah, I could see that. You're missing a little piece of information, right? And you're like, that totally makes sense.
See, and that's the essence of every good conspiracy theory. It's like one tiny thing is some slightly true, like, you know, again with the flat Earth people, it's like, you when you look on the horizon, you don't see the Earth bending. So that's enough to believe the world is flat. But you know, you have a small nugget of truth, and then you create up this giant story to go along with it. And you're absolutely right. Like, they are fun. And that's why even super smart, intelligent people like yourselves probably have some slightly outlandish thing that you're like, well, there's that, like, that thing that I know is true, and this other thing, and they could be connected by this crazy theory. And it doesn't mean, you know, we've all got that.
Well, I think that's why shows like Lost and
terrible ending, but anyways.
But those are the things where people got super into those, right? Because it was just like these little things, and everyone would have their own little conspiracy theory on, oh, this is this and this is doing that, and you know, and I think that's why those shows became so popular. And you know, it's just always fun to speculate on
it
things.
And I think to speculate on things outside of our understanding is human nature. Like, we just love to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And you know,
it's also how we find things out, right? Always being curious about, why is that? How does that work? Right? Like, we wouldn't. That is literally just science, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to discover how that works. I want to discover why that is. What is this thing? That's science. So
that's right. And sometimes those crazy theories turn out to be true.
Yeah.
Like at one point, someone was like, "No, the Earth doesn't revolve around the sun. The sun revolves around the Earth." And people were like, "That's witchcraft. He's a sorcerer. Let's kill him." But it turns out that crazy theory was true, right? You know, so
yeah, the Earth revolves.
Yeah.
Cool. So, where can people find It's a Conspiracy?
We are like across the board now, just about every platform. I think we just got onto Spotify the other day. I don't know why. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was
sweet.
Very nice.
Yeah,
I was just gonna search you on Spotify.
So you have to look up. There's a lot of conspiracy podcasts. You have to look us up on It's a Conspiracy ! Sometimes you have to include my name, just Andrew Scott, and it'll pop up. And we've got this weird kind of prism decal that is the logo.
You are like the first one. I got It's, and then I didn't put an A, I put an S because you know, my spelling's super great. And I got Consper, and it found you.
Oh, right on. That's
Following.
cool. Oh, right
That's
on.
right.
Great.
Boom.
No, that's so good. And the one of the things that we that I really love to do with the guys, and they're really good sports. I've got these two co-hosts with me. Is we do a monthly episode, and then we do one special every month, and that's where we try to fit in like the alternative accounts and the legends or myths or whatever. And I there's a really interesting culture around food. So I usually try to come up with like these snacks that are really gross and the guys don't want to eat them. And like for Valentine's Day, we had these, it was really gross. It was, we started off with chocolate dip strawberries, and then we had like chocolate dip potato chips, and then Brussels sprouts, and then these like jalapeno pepper things.
Jalapeno pepper with peanut butter.
Yeah. And it was so gross. Like it was so disgusting. But it's funny to, it's really funny just to do this. Yeah. And it's like when we had Dan on with the Centurion thing, like just sit, make jokes, be idiots, and be comfortable doing that, without going too far and without being too crude. I mean, the Centurion one got a little more X-rated than it normally goes. But, but it normally...
Blame the lubrication, right?
Oh, man, yeah. I think, one of the things was if you get 9 guys really drunk, it's only a matter of time before
9 people who love talking.
Yeah.
I think that's where we went wrong.
Yeah, we're talking over each other the whole time. Holy
the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it just got worse as you get drunk, right?
Yeah.
People just try to. Yeah, that was pretty bad, but it was so much fun.
That was fun. Actually, we're gonna do another one next year, and Sam, you should probably come because we really need some ladies in there. Just you don't even have to participate.
As long as there's wine, I'm there. Like, don't just.
Yeah, I had this figured out. So the equivalent of 100 beers in 100 minutes, it was something like 82 shots of wine every. There was like a separate rhythm that you would have kept up to the exact same thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it would have been the same amount of alcohol in the end. And
like I can pound back 2 bottles of wine, no problem.
There you go.
So we're good.
you were fine. You're totally fine. Yeah.
Like good. I'll just have like the guys have been joking like that they want to get me one of those like giant wine glasses that holds like a bottle of wine, and I'm like, at this point, let's just get me a straw. That's good. They'll be fine.
Just shove it through the cork.
Oh no! Then you get cork floating in your wine.
Oh, gross.
Daniel, no.
Yeah. Do you like red wine or white wine?
Red wine.
I'm a red wine person myself. Yeah.
I used to buy wine by it was like the funniest label, and now I've gotten picky. I'm like, I like Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
Where I go. Merlot is like my second one, but if it gets too sweet, I get this headache, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. But we've been slowly going through. So when we moved, we combined 2 household liquor cabinets.
Oh, nice.
So we were like, okay, we got to pare this down. It doesn't all fit in the shelf. So
there's only one way to do that. So.
Yep. So when we celebrated Valentine's Day, we polished off a bottle of vodka together.
Oh my God.
All right. Okay. Well, that made room. My head. Just it's good times.
Awesome.
But whatever's on the bottle, I'm still a fan of if a bottle of wine has the Fantastic Four on it, I'm like, I'll buy that one. That's the one I'm going with. And it could taste like toothpaste, but I'm fine.
You're like, I'm drinking it.
I'm
I paid good money for this.
I'm sold. That label had a nice little quip on it.
What was that? Your company?
There was one that did all the Star Trek beers.
Yeah, it was
what?
That one did a nerd one.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
There was a Vulcan beer. There was all sorts of good. They weren't the greatest, but it was pretty funny. I actually didn't. There was one I didn't mind. There was the
something you can't remember.
No, it was
remember later. It's fine.
The Klingon beer. The Klingon beer was a good one. Anyways, we have the liquor store by our house has a growler bar.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And so I get to go. I just take my growlers, and they'll fill it up for me there. And they always have a rotating tap all the time. So it's 6
Nice.
beers or 8 beers on tap at any time. And I just get to go in there. I'm like, try a bunch of different kinds. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I like that one. And I'll
Yeah,
take
man.
it home. And it's usually like $6 to $8 for a liter of beer.
That's nice.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it.
That's an amazing deal, man.
Yeah.
And do you know a lot of beer brewer people, like with your exposure to the growler thing? Like, have you met some of these guys?
So I met just recently someone from Panoka. I can't remember his name now. I choose. And his beer was really good. He had one that was really interesting. It was like a honey lager, but he put orange in it. And oh my goodness, it was so good. It was it was something else. Yeah, it was from Panoka. But yeah, he got a microbrewery down there.
That's cool. Maybe we should probably do an episode later.
We should go to a quick break, and we're going to come back right back, and we're going to talk a bit about some of the events that are happening in and around the city. So stay tuned. So the Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. And if you head on over to albertapodcastnetwork.com, you will find a list of amazing Alberta-made podcasts. And right now, I want to point your attention to the Mess Hall podcast, which is a weekly podcast, which Avery Cochran talks to comedians and sometimes other people about food. So go check that one out. I know that they just did a shout out for us on their podcast. So I'm just turning a favor on that one because they're awesome. And so go check that out. The Mess Hall podcast at albertapodcastnetwork.com. And so that is it. All right. Events. We have lots of events that are happening in the city here. First off, we have Theater Sports by Rapid Fire Theater. Now, this is happening on all the Fridays. So February 22nd, March. Hang on. 22nd, March 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th is when you can go and check out the Theater Sports. That was super loud. Tickets are on Eventbrite, and they're $12 to $14. So go and check that out. Also, all the links to all these events are down in the description below this video. Or if you're listening to it, it'll be in the show notes. So go and check that out. All right. Moving along, we have the Edmonton Collector Con, which is happening on March 3rd. And this is happening at oh man, he doesn't have the actual thing here. The Italian Cultural Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that is happening March 3rd, Edmonton Collector Con. Go check that out. Moving along, we have the Pop Culture Fair, which is also happening on, well, not also, but it's happening on March 31st. It's also happening in March, is what it is. And this is happening at the Aviation Museum. So go and check that one out.
That one also happens twice a year. So
yes.
Yep.
So March 31st for the Pop Culture Fair. Moving along, we have, the big one, which is Edmonton, or the Calgary Expo, which is happening on April 25th to 28th. And they have so many awesome guests, lined up. I think they just announced Rainn Wilson from The Office.
Mm-hmm.
So go and check that out. And one last event for you. We have Intrigue Con. So if you like RPGs, this is the convention for you. And this is kind of like their mini con. And it's happening on May 3rd and 4th. And so go check that out. Also, link again, once again, is down in the description below. All right. That is it. That is all. I want to thank Andrew so much for coming on the show today. It was absolutely fantastic having you here today.
Yeah.
I after the Centurion and everything else, I'm like, we have to get together and do a podcast because
all right, man.
It's so much fun.
That was a good time. Yeah. And I have a couple conspiracies with you specifically in mind that will I can't wait to get you on for. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm in. I'm sold.
Including those dice that I know you have in your pocket right now, even when you got your long underwear on.
They're over here. They're in my bag there.
These are D&D
dice?
dice?
I don't have my emergency dice.
Wait,
yeah, you gotta keep your emergency dice on you all the time.
I don't know where Jordan cleaned up in here, so I don't know where all the dice are. We have like 12 sets floating around in here somewhere.
Yeah, you never know when you're gonna need a set of dice. You never know when a D&D game is gonna pop up.
You want
if
to
this had been a real emergency, you would have been in trouble right now because.
No, it's like
scrambling.
It's right here.
There you go.
Okay, no, all right, that's good.
Never mind. Yeah. Like, I'm just looking for the extra sets. I know where mine are.
The extra emergency dice.
I want to thank Andrew so much again for joining us. Thank you, Sam, for co-hosting. It was awesome. Thank you so much. And that is it. That is all. I want to thank everyone out there for watching and or listening to this edition of the Nerdcast. And we'd like to, oh my goodness. And we would like to ask everyone that if you can to share with your friends on social media. The Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATV, and is produced by myself along with Trina Schussel. And you can find more information on the Northern Nerd Network by checking us out on Twitter at Northern_Nerd, Facebook.com/Northern Nerd, on YouTube.com/Northern Nerd Network, or on our very own website, NorthernNerdNetwork.com. That's all the time we have, and I want to thank everyone for listening to this edition of the Nerdcast, and I'll see you guys on the next one.